Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Alex.
And I'm Emily. So happy you're here. And today's topic? Alex, I think this might be the most secretly stressful thing in the whole working world.
Go on, set it up.
Okay, picture this. You're in a meeting. Someone, maybe your manager, maybe a client, is talking fast. And somewhere in the middle of a long sentence, you lose it. One word you didn't catch, and suddenly the whole thing turns to fog. And they keep going. And now everyone's looking around the table, nodding, and you nod too.
Oh, the nod, the famous nod.
The fake nod. You smile, you nod, you write something down that means nothing. And inside you're screaming, what did they just say? What did I just agree to?
And here's the worst part. 2 days later, you find out you agreed to do something completely different from what you thought. And now it's a real problem. That's today's episode. What to say, the exact words when you didn't understand. Because everybody deals with this. Everybody.
And I want to say something right at the start, because a lot of you need to hear it. If this happens to you, it does not mean your English is bad. It really doesn't. People speak fast. They mumble. They use strange idioms. The audio on the call drops. There are 100 accents in the world. Native speakers ask each other to repeat things all day long. This is normal.
It's completely normal. The problem was never that you didn't understand one sentence. The problem is what most people do next, which is nothing. They stay quiet and hope. And that quiet, that little nod, is what actually costs you.
So today we fix that. We're going to give you a whole toolbox of natural, polite phrases for every situation. When they talk too fast, when you miss one word, when you get lost in a long explanation, when the video call cuts out, and, this is the big one, how to check that you understood correctly in a way that actually makes you look more professional, not less.
And the good news, this language travels. It's truly international. Say, sorry, could you run that by me again? Or, what do you mean by that? Or, just to make sure I follow you. In London, New York, Singapore, Sydney, or Dublin, and every single person in the room knows exactly what you need. No confusion. These are the magic words that get you unstuck, anywhere on Earth.
By the end of this, you'll have a ready phrase for every single one of those moments, and you will never have to do the fake nod again. Here we go. Before we get to the phrases, we have to fix something in your head first. Because most people don't stay quiet because they don't know the words, they stay quiet because they're scared. Scared that asking makes them look slow, or stupid, or like their English isn't good enough.
And I want to hit that fear head on, because it's built on a lie. Asking someone to repeat or explain is not a weak move. It's a strong one. Think about the most senior, most confident person you've ever worked with. I promise you, they ask, sorry, what do you mean by that? All the time. Confident people ask. It's insecure people who nod and hope.
That's such an important flip. The nodding, the thing you do to look smart, is actually the thing that makes you look unsure later when you get it wrong. And the question, the thing you're scared will look weak, is what makes you look sharp and careful.
Let me give you a way to think about the cost, because this made it click for me. You've got 2 options in that moment. Option 1, you ask, and yes, maybe you feel a little embarrassed for 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Option 2, you nod, you stay quiet, and then you do the wrong thing for 5 days. You miss the deadline. You build the wrong report. You have to redo everything. And now people really are wondering about you.
5 seconds of, sorry, can you repeat that? Versus 5 days of fixing a mistake. When you say it like that, it's not even a choice.
It's not. The little bit of silence you're protecting is costing you way more than the question ever would. Managers, good ones, would 100 times rather you ask now than guess and get it wrong. You asking a question tells them, this person is careful, this person gets it right. That's a good thing to be known for.
And here's a gentle truth about the fake nod, since we're being honest. People can usually tell. That slightly frozen smile, the nod that's a half second too late, experienced people have seen it 1,000 times. So the nod isn't even hiding anything. You might as well ask.
You might as well ask. So from now on, new rule. When you don't understand, you don't guess. You check. Guessing is the risk. Checking is the safe move. Okay, now that your head's in the right place, let's give you the actual words. Starting with the simplest situation of all. They were just talking too fast. So, situation 1, the most common one. Someone said something and you just didn't catch it. Maybe they spoke quickly. Maybe you looked away for a second. You don't need a fancy phrase here. You just need a polite, natural one. And the trick is one small word at the front. Sorry.
Right. In English, you almost always start these with sorry. Not because you did anything wrong, but because it's the little bit of politeness that makes the whole thing soft and friendly. So, word for word, you can say, "Sorry, could you say that again?" Or, "Sorry, I didn't catch that." Or, "Sorry, could you repeat the last part?" All three are perfect, all completely normal.
I didn't catch that is a lovely one, by the way. To catch something here means to hear it or understand it. It's soft. It doesn't say you were unclear or I'm confused. It just says that one flew past me. Very natural, very common. Native speakers use it constantly.
And if the real problem is speed, they're just talking too fast for you, you're allowed to say that, kindly. "Sorry, could you slow down a little?" Or, "Would you mind going a bit slower?" Nobody is offended by that. Honestly, half the room is probably relieved you asked.
And here's a small confidence trick. Blame the situation, not yourself. Instead of, sorry, my English isn't good enough, which puts you down, you say, sorry, it's a bit noisy on my end, or, you were going quite fast there. Same result, they repeat it, but you didn't make yourself smaller to get it.
That's a good one. You never have to apologize for your English. You just point at the moment. It got a little fast. There's some noise here. Neutral. Easy.
One more for when someone gives you a long instruction and you got the start but lost the end. You don't have to ask for the whole thing again. Just ask for the piece you missed. Sorry, I got the first part, but could you repeat the last bit? See how specific that is? You're not saying, I understood nothing. You're saying, I was with you, I just need this one piece. That already sounds sharp.
And that idea, asking for the exact piece you missed instead of the whole thing, that's actually the secret to all of this. And it's even more powerful when the thing you missed is a single word, which is our next situation, and it's a big one. So this is the situation where you understood the whole sentence, except for one word. And that one word happens to be the important one. Maybe it's a piece of jargon. Maybe it's a term from their industry. Maybe it's just a word you've never heard.
And this is where people make a classic mistake. They panic about the one word, and instead of asking, they let the whole meeting move on without them. Don't do that. When it's one word, you ask about that one word. It's the easiest, cleanest question there is.
The magic phrase is, "What do you mean by?" And then you say the word back to them. For example, "Sorry, what do you mean by onboarding?" Or, "What do you mean by the runway?" You're not asking them to explain the whole idea. You're pointing right at the one thing you need. And that is a very smart-sounding question.
It really is, because think about what it shows. It shows you followed everything else perfectly. You only stopped at this one word. That's the opposite of looking lost. That's precision.
You can also say, "Sorry, I'm not familiar with that term." Familiar with just means you don't know it yet. I'm not familiar with churn. What does it mean in this context? Lovely, professional, and, bonus, in this context, makes you sound like you know that words can mean different things in different situations, which they can.
And here's a thing worth saying out loud. Half the time, the word you don't know isn't even an English word you're missing. It's company slang, or an abbreviation, or some project name that nobody explained to you. Every office is full of these secret words. So when you ask, "What do you mean by that?" you're often not the only one who didn't know. You're just the brave one who said it.
So true. I've been in meetings where someone asks, "Sorry, what does that stand for some three-letter abbreviation, and you can feel three other people quietly go, "Oh, thank God, I didn't know either."
You become the hero of the quietly confused. Now, there's a special kind of word that trips up non-native speakers more than any other. And it's not jargon, it's the idiom. The strange little picture phrases that native speakers throw around without thinking. Let's talk about those, because they're sneaky.
Idioms. Ugh, these are the worst, in the best way. An idiom is a phrase where the words don't mean what they literally say, and English offices are absolutely full of them. Someone says, "Let's circle back on this." And if you're translating word by word, you're thinking, circle? Back? Are we drawing? Are we walking somewhere?
Let's circle back just means, let's talk about this again later. But nobody says, talk about it again later. They say, circle back, or touch base, or take it offline, or park it for now. And if English isn't your first language, these can feel like a secret code that everyone got the key to except you.
And the beautiful thing is, the fix is exactly the same phrase we already learned. When someone uses an idiom you don't know, you just point at it. When you say, "take it offline," what do you mean exactly? And here's the lovely part. You can often guess a little and check at the same time. When you say, "circle back," do you mean we'll discuss it next week?
That's a great move, because now you're not just asking, you're showing you're trying to follow. You're meeting them halfway. And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, "Yes, exactly," or, "Well, more like this." And either way, you've learned the idiom and you didn't miss the point.
And can I say, do not feel bad about idioms. Ever. Native speakers use them without even realizing they're doing it. It is genuinely their job to explain what they mean, not your job to magically know every strange phrase in the language. When you ask, you're actually doing them a favor. You're reminding them to speak clearly.
You're keeping them honest. Okay, so far, everything we've done is about small gaps, a fast sentence, one word, one idiom. But sometimes it's bigger than that. Sometimes someone gives you a long, complicated explanation, and you're just not sure you got the whole thing. And for that, we have the single most powerful move in this entire episode.
Okay, if there's one habit here worth stealing, it's this one. It quietly changes your whole working life, and it couldn't be simpler. You say it back. Some people call it checking your understanding. Whatever you call it, it works like magic.
Here's what it is. After someone explains something, instead of just nodding, you repeat it back to them in your own words, short and simple, and you ask if you got it right. That's it. You say what you think they meant, and you let them confirm.
Let me show you. Your boss gives you this long thing. So we need the report, but focus on the second quarter numbers and loop in the finance team before you send it. And it should be ready before the client call on Thursday. A lot, right? So you say back, "Okay, just to make sure I've got this, you want the Q2 report, checked with finance, ready before Thursday's call. Is that right?"
And that is a beautiful sentence. Let's look at why. First, you caught anything you misunderstood. If you got Thursday wrong, they fix it right now, not in 3 days. Second, and this is the part people miss, you just sounded incredibly organized. You took their messy, long instruction and gave it back, clean and clear. You look like the sharpest person in the room.
That's the trick that nobody tells you. Checking your understanding doesn't make you look confused, it makes you look on top of things. The phrase, just to make sure I've got this, or so if I understand correctly. Those aren't weak phrases. Bosses hear those and think, great, this one really listens. This one gets it right.
And it protects you completely. Because once your boss says, yes, that's right, you're safe. You both agreed, out loud, on what the job is. If it changes later, that's on them, not you. You wrote the contract just by saying it back.
So the pattern is simple. Long or important instruction? Don't just nod. Say it back in your own words, then ask, is that right? Or, did I get that right? Do it every single time something matters. It feels a tiny bit slow in the moment, and it saves you from disasters over and over.
And notice, you don't even have to have understood everything perfectly the first time. Even if you only caught 70%, you say back the 70% you got, and their correction fills in the rest. It's like a safety net that catches whatever you dropped. Brilliant, and almost nobody does it.
Now, so far, we've mostly pictured a normal meeting, in a room. But let's be honest about where most of us actually work now. On video calls, with frozen screens and robot audio. And that deserves its own moment because it's a special kind of pain.
Video calls, where half of understanding isn't even about language. It's about the internet. The audio cuts out. The screen freezes on someone's face mid-word. 3 people talk at once, and it turns to soup. Someone's microphone sounds like they're inside a washing machine.
And here's the wonderful thing about video calls, from a confidence point of view. You have the perfect excuse. And it's completely true. It wasn't your English. It was the connection. So you never have to feel bad. You just blame the technology. Because, honestly, it usually is the technology.
So the phrases here are your best friends. You can just say, sorry, you cut out for a second. Could you say that again? To cut out, by the way, means the audio stopped for a moment. Everyone knows that phrase. Everyone's used it. Or, sorry, you froze. I missed the last part. Or, the audio dropped there. Could you repeat that?
And these are magic because nobody, anywhere, thinks less of you for a bad connection. It happens to the CEO, it happens to native speakers, it happens on every call in the world. So lean on it. If you miss something and you're not sure why, sorry, you cut out, is always a safe, believable, blame-free way to get it repeated.
There's also the too many people talking problem. On a call, people talk over each other constantly, and it becomes noise. It's totally fine to say, sorry, a few people came in at once there. Could we take that one at a time? You're not being difficult. You're helping everyone, because trust me, the confusion was not just yours.
And a small but powerful one for video calls specifically. Use the chat. If you didn't catch a name or a number or a link, just type, sorry, could you drop that in the chat? You get the exact information written down, no interrupting, no stress. Non-native speakers sometimes forget that the chat box is right there, quietly waiting to save you.
The chat is your secret helper. Numbers, names, spellings, web addresses, anything where the exact detail matters and your ears might slip, ask for it in writing. Smart, calm, and you get it perfectly every time.
Okay, so we can now handle fast talkers, missing words, idioms, long explanations, and terrible video calls. But there's one more skill, and it's a quiet one. Sometimes you don't need them to repeat anything. You understood the words. You just need a moment to think. And panicking non-native speakers almost never give themselves that moment. This one's subtle, but it matters so much. Someone asks you a question in a meeting. You understood it perfectly, but your brain needs 3 or 4 seconds to think of the answer. And in English, under pressure, those few seconds feel like forever. So people rush. They start talking before they're ready, and it comes out messy.
And the fix is so simple. You learn a few little phrases that buy you time. Natural things that native speakers say to fill that thinking gap so the silence doesn't feel awkward and you don't have to rush.
Like, that's a good question. Let me think for a second. That one does so much work. It's polite, it makes the other person feel good, and it quietly gives you 5 seconds to actually think. Or, let me make sure I understand what you're asking. Or simply, give me a moment on that one.
And these aren't tricks or stalling in a bad way. Confident people do this all the time. A little pause before you answer actually makes you sound more thoughtful, not less. The person who blurts out an answer instantly sometimes sounds nervous. The person who says, let me think, sounds calm and in control.
There's another version for when you need to think and you want to keep it moving. You start your answer with a slow, easy opening. So, the way I see it, well, there are a couple of things there. You're not saying anything yet. You're just warming up the engine while your brain catches up. And it sounds completely natural.
It buys you a runway. And if you truly need more time, like you genuinely can't answer well right now, it is always okay to say, "Can I come back to you on that? I want to give you a proper answer." Nobody thinks less of you. In fact, "Let me get back to you with something solid" often sounds more responsible than a rushed guess.
Which, funnily enough, connects back to where we started. Whether it's understanding or answering, the calm move always beats the panicked one. Okay, one last practical question because timing matters. When something goes over your head, should you ask right away, in the meeting, or wait until after?
Good question, because the answer isn't always ask immediately. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And knowing the difference makes you look really polished.
Here's the simple test. Ask yourself, do I need this to keep following, or is it just a detail I can get later? If not understanding it means you'll be lost for the rest of the meeting, ask now. If it's a small detail, like an exact date or a name that you can confirm afterwards, you can let it go for the moment and catch it later.
So if the whole discussion is about to build on one idea, and you didn't get that idea, you have to ask right there. "Sorry, before we go on, can I just check what we mean by this?" Because if you don't, everything after it is lost anyway. Better to spend 10 seconds now than lose 10 minutes.
But if it's a little thing, you don't have to interrupt the flow every time. You can hold it, and then at the end or in a quick message after, you say, "I had one quick question about the timeline. Could you clarify that bit for me?" That shows really good judgment. You knew what mattered in the moment and what could wait.
And this leads to maybe the most underrated move of all, the after-meeting message. Whatever the meeting was about, you can send a short note afterward. "Thanks, just to confirm what we agreed, I'll do X and Y by Friday. Let me know if I missed anything." 2 lines.
And that little message is pure gold for 2 reasons. One, if you did misunderstand anything, this is your last safety check. They'll correct it before you go and do the wrong thing. And 2, now there's a written record of what everyone agreed. If things get confused later, you're the calm person who has it in writing. You turned a moment of not understanding into looking like the most organized person on the team.
From "I didn't catch that" all the way to "Here's exactly what we agreed." That's the shift we're going for. Let me put it all together in one quick scene.
Okay, Alex, give me a scene. I'm in a meeting, something goes over my head, and I'll walk through everything we said today, live.
You got it. Here we go. It's a video call. Your manager is talking fairly fast, and she says, "So, we'll need you to reconcile the figures, loop in procurement, and have it ready before we circle back on Thursday." And a couple of those words just went right past you. What do you do?
First, in my head, I do not panic and I do not fake nod. I remember, guessing is the risk, checking is the safe move. 5 seconds of asking beats 5 days of doing the wrong thing. So I'm going to speak up, calmly.
What do you actually say?
I go after the exact gaps, not the whole thing. There were two: reconcile and circle back. So I say, sorry, two quick things. What do you mean by reconcile the figures? And when you say circle back on Thursday, do you mean we'll review it together then? I'm pointing right at the two words I missed, and I'm even guessing at the idiom to show I'm following.
She explains both. Then what?
Now I use the big move. I say it back to check I've really got it. Okay, just to make sure I understand, you want me to match the two sets of figures, get procurement's input, and have it ready for us to review together on Thursday. Is that right? She says, exactly. And now I'm completely safe. We both agreed out loud.
And halfway through, her audio cuts out on a number.
Easy. Sorry, you cut out for a second there. Could you drop that number in the chat? I blame the connection, not myself, and I get the number in writing, perfectly. No stress.
She then asks you a question you understood, but need a second to answer.
I don't rush. I say, that's a good question. Let me think for a second. Those few words buy me time and make me sound calm instead of panicked. Then I answer properly.
And after the call?
I send the two-line message. Thanks. Just to confirm, I'll reconcile the Q2 figures with procurement and have it ready for Thursday's review. Let me know if I missed anything. Now it's in writing. My understanding is double-checked, and I look like the most organized person on that call. From, wait, what did she say? To that, in one meeting.
Emily, that was every tool from today, all in one meeting and not a single fake nod in sight. Notice how calm it stayed? Every little gap, she just handled it. That's all this really is. Not perfect English, just a few brave, simple phrases at the right moment.
And if a couple of those phrases slipped straight past you just now, well, that's kind of the joke, isn't it? Give it another listen when you've got a quiet minute. They settle in on the second time round.
All right, we're going to let you go. But one small thing to actually try this week, because this only works if you use it.
Here it is, and it's tiny but powerful. The very next time you're even a little unsure of what someone said, instead of nodding, use just one phrase from today. Just one. Sorry, could you say that again? Or the big one, say it back. So just to make sure I've got this. One time, that's the whole task.
And watch what happens. Watch how the other person doesn't judge you at all. They just help. Watch how much calmer you feel when you actually know what's going on. That one small habit, asking instead of guessing, will change how you feel in every meeting for the rest of your career.
And then come tell us in the comments how it went. Which phrase did you use? Did it feel scary? Did it work? We read every single one, and honestly, these little wins are our favorite thing.
If this helped you today, do the usual. Give it a like, hit subscribe, and send it to a friend who sits in English meetings and does the fake nod too. You know the one. New episodes twice a week.
Next time, another topic you asked for, so stick around. Thanks for spending this time with us.
Stop nodding, start asking. You've got this. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.